On the business model canvas, the revenue streams, channels, and customer relationships blocks are sandwiched in between customer segments and value propositions. These three blocks define how the company's value offering or that value proposition will be delivered and sold to the customer to create value or revenue for your company. The hypotheses tested in each block are interrelated, meaning assumptions about how you engage with the customer may be tested in more than one block. And your assumptions may impact the results in another block. The revenue stream block describes the revenue model you will use to sell your product or service, as well as pricing strategy you're going to use to generate revenue. The chosen revenue strategy will depend on your customer's willingness to pay and the amount of value created by your solution, which of course assumes that your company has a clear understanding of the customer need addressed by your solution, and will use that understanding of need and value to test out that pricing strategy. The channels block describes the company functions required to sell, distribute, and support the product after it's been purchased or installed. As you test out your channel strategy, you will consider the reach of each channel. That's the access they have to your target customer, as well as the functions they will provide for reaching that customer, distributing and supporting the solution. You're going to answer questions like, will they bring customers to you or just simply showcase your product on their website or catalog? Complex solutions will require more complex marketing and sales strategies, and actually may require a channel partner
This is
with existing
Minifee.
functions to
After
support
we do
your
this,
target
can't you
customer.
transport it to this afternoon?
The channel partner may in turn influence the revenue strategy selected,
Either
as
2
they
o'clock
have their own
or
business
at
model
4:30.
and sales strategy with their end
4:30. I will
customer
be
or
there. Thank you so
customers.
much for changing it for
And
me.
they most certainly will impact your
All right,
customer
thank you so
relationships.
much.
They're going to take a
Right,
cut
bye.
of the cost to acquire the customer. The activities performed by the channel and the strategy for acquiring the customer, keeping them, and growing them, earning more revenue, is the topic of customer relationships. The customer relationship block describes how you will engage with the customer. What specific activities will be required to get customers to notice your solution, show interest, and of course, ultimately purchase it? After they have made a purchase, what will keep them using the product for an extended period of time? And finally, what's the company's growth strategy? What additional solutions would the customer see value in, allowing the company to sell existing customers more solutions? These activities are the functions of the channel and opportunities to increase the company's revenue streams. The key point to customer discovery is understand how the customer purchases products today. What are their expectations of any company from which they purchase solutions? You will need to understand whether the target customer segment you have defined will be accessible to your chosen sales and distribution strategy, and whether they have the ability to pay for the value of your offering. Always start with the status quo, what the customer expects of existing products today, and then test out different strategies for engaging the customer and generating revenue. Using the same structured customer discovery process, hypothesize, test, and iterate.
Let's start with a quick overview of the left-hand side of the canvas. The key activities, key resources, and key partners business model components shown on the left side of the canvas really help us define the type of business you are building. Your activities, resources, and partnerships all help you create and deliver value to the customer. However, the focus of your discovery efforts in these areas is much less customer focused. Instead, you will be talking to suppliers and partners that will help you build out your business model. Before considering partners, it's helpful to do a self-assessment. What are the key activities that you want to do in-house? In other words, what do you think are your core competencies that you want to control? What technology or MVP are you bringing to the table? You might simply start with a question that any potential investor, partner, or employee might ask you. So why you? What makes you so special? Why would we bet on you versus other smart people out there that may be working on something even better? Start first at the strategic level. You can get more tactical later. Think of key activities as the things we do and key resources as the things we have. From that baseline, you can better assess what key activities and what resources you may want from partners. The decision on what falls under your activities and resources versus those that fall under partners will almost certainly require iteration. Keep in mind that if your business model becomes overly dependent on others, you may introduce risks that you cannot control, which may make you less attractive to customers, investors, or potential acquirers. Such an overdependency could even put your business at risk. On the other hand, there is no need to develop activities and resources that may be readily available from others. You want to augment your core competencies with theirs. Finding this balance takes some time, but getting it right is critical. Look for other examples where people have gone before you and pursued similar paths. Where do they succeed or fail? What can you learn from them? Finally, expect for this balance to evolve over time, along with all the other aspects of your business model. Talk about an exercise you should think about doing now, even early in the process. Market sizing. So why would you do this now? It's helpful to have a quick assessment of the market opportunity. And you really want to do this based on your beachhead segment. Think of that customer and the job that you plan to do for them, right? Is this a nascent opportunity? Is it just developing? Has it been growing, or is it even perhaps declining? Fundamentally, what you're trying to get at is it worth it? Should you spend your time going after this? Back of the envelope calculation can be very helpful. So let's talk about two different approaches for doing market estimates. First, think about a top-down approach. This is commonly done. In fact, most estimates you will see are top-down approaches, and they're done with secondary research. You look things up online, you find market research reports, that kind of thing. You've probably all done those before. In this course, as you continue to gather evidence, you want to do a bottom-up approach. This really requires the customer discovery input that we've asked you to get, but you can't start there. So let's talk about three different estimates you can do, but we will be using a top-down approach in the beginning. So first, let's talk about the total available market. The best way to think of this is, what if everybody in the world that you wanted to buy could buy it, right? How big would that be? And you want to convert that number of people into dollars, of course. The second type of estimate is what we call the served available market. Now, this is not going to be as large as the total available market. It's really intended to give you a sense for, okay, well, the total is this number, but who can we serve now with our current business model or the one we plan to build over the next few months? Right? We probably can't reach everybody. Who could or would buy now? And there's one more final market type of estimate. That's the target market. This is that portion of the served market that you think you can win right away, probably in the first year, maybe in the first 1 to 3 years. So why would you want to even look at that? Well, number one, it's helpful to know, what does your cash flow look like? Do you need to raise money or bring in other types of funding? Or can you actually bootstrap yourself with some of these early sales? So let's talk about an example that kind of highlights these three different types. Let's assume for a moment that you have a new, better battery for mobile electronics, but you've decided to start with mobile phones, which could be one of many potential applications. Your total available market might be every mobile phone in the world, and there are a lot of them. Very exciting. But you realize, based on the technology that you have today, only the premium category phones can really support your new technology. So you can't reach everyone in the world that has a phone, but hopefully all those with premium phones, your battery can really help with. But think about this even more. Is there something you can reach in the nearer term? Perhaps it's only premium mobile phones that use battery-packed cells of a certain size in North America. That would be a target. It's not as large as your sort of available market. And it's certainly not as large as the total available market, but it is a great starting place. This is where your customer discovery comes in. This is where that evidence from discovery helps you build a bottom-up estimate of that initial market you can go after. Okay, the distinction between TAM, SAM, and target can sometimes be a little blurry, but just use them to show different levels of granularity. At a basic level, they really mean sort of the near, mid, and far-term opportunities for you. If you have any questions, come to office hours and talk to your instructors about how to use this tool. So here are some things to think about, some typical mistakes that people make when they do these types of estimates. The number one mistake that people make is putting too many customer segments in there. So what is too many? Two is too many. You should do your market estimate on a per segment basis. If you really think you can serve multiple segments and you want to do that calculation, go ahead. Just don't mix them. Remember, if you're focused on a particular customer as well, and you have more than one potential solution for them, keep those separate and distinct as well. It's helpful to understand the independent value of each, so don't mix those either. We talked about using a top-down approach, and that's perfectly reasonable in the beginning. You should do that. But over time, you really need to build the evidence for a bottom-up approach. And these top-down, bottom-up approaches should more or less come to the same general number. If not, you're doing something a little bit wrong. And remember, finally, you have to convert all of these estimates into dollars. That's what people care about. So if you're talking about units sold or people that will use the product, that's great, but convert it to dollars. That's what investors want to hear about.